Good morning, students. It is the third video of the poem A Photograph, written by Shirley Toulson, British Celtic writer who really devoted her life to Christianity. But her poignant account of this very poem tells us about the life and death, temporariness and the permanence of life. So it is really such a beautiful poem with such a deep sense of understanding about life and death, having the feeling of pain and joy that we will try to understand in this poem. The photograph, it is the explanation of line by line. The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling, each one holding one of my mother's hands, as she the big girl, some 12 years or so. In these lines, the poet is looking at an old photo album which is made up of cardboard. In the picture, there are three girls who are walking on the beach, holding each other's hands. The girl in the middle is tallest and the oldest. The other two girls on each side are younger than her. The girl in the middle is the poet's mother. She is around 12 years old when the picture was taken. From line number 5 to 9, all three stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera. A sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born. And the sea, which appears to have changed place, lost their terribly transient fit. What is the meaning of transient, short-term, temporary? In the above lines, the poet describes how the photograph was taken. Her mother's uncle took the photograph and told them to stop and pose. All three of them left their wet hair open and smiled at the camera as it was the custom. At the time, the photographer asked the person to smile before he could click. The poet's attention is drawn towards his mother's face, which is described as a sweet face. The photograph was taken long before the poet was born. The poet calls their feet terrible, transient, as they were so young by then and now they had grown older. On the other hand, the sea which touched their feet had changeless, means it is the source of nature that is permanent, that has not changed at all. Some 20-30 years later, she would laugh at this snapshot. See Betty and Dolly, she would say. We see, mother, and look how they dressed us. Or the beach, the sea holiday. It is the snapshot means photograph. After 20-30 years later, she would laugh at the photograph, mother would laugh at the photograph. She would tell the poet to look at her cousins. Who are they? They are Betty and Dolly, and how their parents would dress, all three of them, for the beach, to spend the holiday, to go there and enjoy and entertain themselves. They would have planned to take a photograph beforehand. Was her past, mine is her laughter. Both rhyme with labored ease of loss. Rhyme, ironic. What is its meaning? Ironic, mocking. The poet recalls the sea holiday was her mother's favorite moment from the past. While the poet's favorite moment from the past was her mother's laughter. Both the women would think about those past memories which they cannot live again. Means the moment that is past that never comes back. They tried their best to adjust to what they lost. Means life goes on. It does not remain still as for some things like it. Now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived, and of this circumstance there is nothing to say at all. It's silent silences. Here silence is a complete absence of sound. There is no sound, there is complete stillness, there is no noise at all, and so it is what the alliteration. In the above lines, the poet says that her mother died 12 years ago. The same is her mother was the means. When did she die? When the poet was 12 years old, and her this is the photograph when her mother was 12 years old. Whenever the poet thinks of her mother's death, she cannot explain what effect she has of her mother's death. Really, mother's death is indescribable. Her love and memories cannot be described in words. But she wants to remind us about that. Death has silenced her, which has also left her speechless. She is having no words to describe all about it. Here you can know all the questions. What does the word cardboard denote in the poem? Why has this word been used in the poem? The word cardboard means a frame which supports the photograph. This word had been used in the poem because the picture is very old when the cardboard was used as a photo frame. What has the camera captured? The camera has captured the poet's mother and her two cousins, Betty and Dolly, on the beach. They went for paddling, where her mother's uncle captured the photo in between the moment. Her mother was around 12 years old and was in the middle. She was holding the hands of her cousins who were on the side of her. It was her mother's favorite past memories. What has not changed over the years? Does this suggest something to you? Yes, the lines and the sea, which appears to have changeless, depicts that the sea which touched her mother's feet is the one which has not changed over the years, whereas her mother and her cousins grew older. The sea symbolizes eternity and immortality, permanence, humanity, where human life has a lifespan and has to die one day. So here life is not permanent. The poet is sad about her mother's demise 12 years ago, and her laugh is her favorite past memory to be cherished in her heart. The poet's mother laughed at this snapshot. What did this laugh indicate? The poet's mother laughed at the snapshot, recalling her favorite past memories. She looked back at the photograph, remembered how their parents would dress them up for the beach holiday, Her laugh indicated her remembering the innocent days and the nostalgia feeling. Behind the laugh is also a feeling of pain that those days won't be back. What is the meaning of the line both rye with the labored ease of loss? Try to understand. It is very important question of this very poem that is mostly asked. The above lines means that the poet's mother felt pain. Poet's mother felt pain whenever she saw the old photograph because the innocent childhood days would never be back. Those are just the memories. While the poet has lost her mother, while the poet has lost her mother 12 years ago and she misses her a lot and recalls her laughing and pointing out the outfits they used to wear at the beach holidays, both of them lost something. What does this circumstance refer to? The word this circumstance refers to the present situation of the poet, which is the painful memories of her mother, who has been deceased 12 years ago. While looking at the old photograph of her mother's childhood makes her miss her mother. She remembers her laughing and how the photograph was her favorite past memory. Really, it is the word the circumstance refers to the present situation of the poet when her mother is no more and she died 12 years ago and she looks at the old photograph that makes her remember her mother when she was laughing. The three stanzas depict three different phases. What are they? In the first stanza, that depicts her mother's childhood days when she was 12 years old or so. So it talks about a photograph of her with her two cousins on a beach holiday. Her uncle took the photograph. Her mother changed over the years and she did. While the sea was touched their feet, and that beach holiday had not changed over the years. In the second stanza, the poet talks about her childhood days when her mother used to look at the photograph and recalls everything mentioned in the first stanza. In the last stanza, the poet says that her mother is dead as many years ago as was her age in the photograph. She died 12 years ago. The poet is recalling her mother's old memories while looking at the photograph. She is in pain and misses her deceased. She has no words to describe her grief and she is speechless. Thank you, children. Thank you. You have understood all the question answers, all the poetic devices. I hope that everything might be clear to write the answers, reply to the questions. Okay, thank you, children. Thank you.